Before we start today's commentary, guys, I would like to basically qualify that all of this is my opinion, and I just want to justify of what I've played through the beta, and ultimately, my opinions on here come from my experience with the beta. And I'm not trying to promote that Star Wars Battlefront is bad. I've played the beta, I've enjoyed the beta, but I am getting concerned. A very ironic thing to say. Now, for many months I have built nothing out of this game but hype. I have literally downgraded almost anything that could possibly disappoint me. And I have ultimately made it try to sound like this game was perfect, that it couldn't possibly have any problems. And because of that, I was left being really well done. But, that being said, I was left very blinded. Now, like I said, nothing but hype was there up until I checked the pre-order roster. Once when that happened, the pre-order roster was insanely low. And both the PS4 and Xbox One just game pre-orders are less than Halo 5's and BO3's. And Halo 5 has more pre-orders on one console than Battlefront does on both combined. And that ironically began to have me concerned. Now, the next thing that made me concerned is when I actually picked up and played the beta. I have played the beta, I have had fun with the beta, it's been a fun experience. I'm not gonna pretend that it wasn't a overall fun game, but it had numerous issues. And what makes me concerned is that unlike Halo 5 and BO3, I do not believe these issues can be addressed quick enough. You have to consider this beta is releasing literally a month prior to the game's release. What are you honestly going to be able to repair in such a design? And this isn't technically in a way a beta. It's not a beta-based gameplay. Especially since back at E3, it is proclaimed saying it is pre-alpha gameplay. Because of this, it has led many people like myself to believe that what we see in the beta will very much reflect what the final product is gonna be like. Which is where my concern is raised. Because while this game is fun, the content is somewhat lacking. The genuine of this game. For example, Walker Assault, while it's fun, it's very much one-sided. The Imperials almost always win, and that's going to get very frustrating as the Rebels, because when you play as the Rebels, it's basically, unless if you're insanely good, or the Empire is just incompetent like they are in the movies, then it's seriously a guaranteed lose. And I hate games like that. I do not like games that are one-sided, to where you don't ever get any sense of hope for winning. I'm not saying the game can't be unbalanced, but I am saying, though, that it can't be one-sided. And that's where my primal issues are led. And genuinely, and not just that, but the game's connectivity, at least from my experience, is terrible. I'm not kidding. Lag. That is literally half of the game. And I'm sorry. Like, I don't think this game is bad, but I'm getting concerned if EA is gonna launch this game when it's not ready. That's not ready to be launched. And I have a nervous feeling this game might have a failed launch. And that is ultimately the reason why I did not pre-order this game. And I was considering to pre-order the game. I was. But since it was so close to the beta, by the time I considered it, I was like, okay, I'll play the beta, let the beta reflect of how I feel about the game, and then I'll determine it. But after playing the beta, there's not much for me to convince not to pre-order it. In fact, in some ways, it talks me out of it. Because while, like I said, the game is fun, it is very lackluster. I have seen all the playlists that the game has to offer, and while they will probably be fun, they're lackluster. They're not that many. And what makes matters worse is, like I said, knowing this game's connectivity from the beta, or in this case pre-alpha, I don't even understand why I'm calling it a beta, and then when I compare it to the fact that the game is launching less than a month away, what is gonna stop me from thinking this game might have a failed launch? Or at the very least, not run that smooth. No, like when the lag isn't there, it runs great, it really does, but when the lag is there, this isn't just minor lag that you can get, that, you know, it's there, it's annoying, but you can play through it. No, when lag appears in Battlefront, it literally makes the game un-freaking playable. Which is really irritating. So, you know, genuinely, that is the reason why I am not pre-ordering the game, and why I'm overall would take, you know, the excitement with Battlefront with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to promote the game as bad in any way, but I am needing to justify that this game may not be the ultimate masterpiece that we want it to be. Because that's what we want to believe. That's what we're meant to promote to believe. That this game's gonna, like, you know, like less than a month ago, Dusk Under 9 and myself were making videos about Battlefront, how, like, Battlefront was gonna be the future of gaming. That because of its mix of awesome gameplay and good graphics and stuff, but we took a look too hard at the bread of the sandwich, rather than looking carefully what was in it. We were trying too hard we were too much judging the book by its cover. And that was the problem. And I believe that's why ultimately, did this multiplayer meet my expectations overall by its gameplay and stuff? Yes. But did it by its variety? Did it by its unique game mode? Could you even say this even remotely was a Battlefront game? Because Battlefront, I've played Battlefront 2. It was my favorite game to play for a long time. And I bought it for the PlayStation Portable, and it was the only game I constantly played. When I was on long road trips for 4 to 5 hours, I could just always listen to myself playing Battlefront 2 for so many hours and having so much fun with it. I'm not saying Battlefront, this new one, isn't fun, but it's not the same kind of fun I got back at that time. Which is why I do not believe this game will be the future of gaming. Will it be fun? Yes. Will it even might be a superior experience to Battlefield 4? Maybe. But this isn't gonna be revolutionary. This isn't gonna be the ultimate masterpiece. It's gonna be a good game. A great game, especially if it launches well. But I think my fate from Battlefront came from the fact that I knew a Battlefront game didn't come out in over a decade. The fact that I was so excited that a Star Wars game was finally being made again. I'm not promoting that this game will be disappointing, or even that, but I'm just saying, through the looks of this is a different kind of Battlefront. And it's not the same one that I was in love with so many years ago. And not just that, but like I said, with a failed launch maybe to overcome, I can't have full faith and trust. And to say that DICE never does fail launches is false, because Battlefield 4 went through a failed launch. And this game is a much higher tech product than Battlefield 4. It is a more high technology use. So ultimately, we may be in a circumstance where we might be left in this bad position. And that's why I'm getting concerned. Ultimately, Battlefront represents a game that is going to try to reboot a long dead series. But to say that this game is ultimately the ultimate game we've been waiting for is not. Can its sequel be? Yes. And ultimately, if EA and DICE learn everything that this game has bestowed, both the good and the bad, then Battlefront 2 may become the future of gaming. Their Battlefront 2. And ultimately, if they can combine the ultimate aspects of the old and the new, then Star Wars Battlefront will become the ultimate game. But we can only succeed on that if the game fights, if it is willing to stand. Rather than focusing on how much money it can make, it needs to focus on how much it makes its community members happy. That is where we need to stand. And that's what I want. That is what we need out of Star Wars Battlefront. And that's ultimately where we need to stand. It's clear through this. Battlefront will represent a great game and definitely a good setting stone for the future to come. But it is not yet the future of gaming. It is not yet the revolutionary shooter we need it to be. It is still, it's not there yet. But can it still rise there? Are we to say that this game is bad? Because I've seen people give this game full hate because of it being this Battlefront based game and because of EA. And I know EA isn't a great company to trust, but have faith within yourselves. I'm not saying we should let the hype control us, but we need to live in a world with positive gaming. I'm not saying we need to be blind through games to try to overlook every flaw, but we need to go through the good points. We need to say those flaws, acknowledge them, but rather than focusing on everything they did wrong, focus on what they did right. What this beta has done, while it is maybe has all the complaints I've said, it does brilliant with the look and sound and overall design. Its mechanics are so Lester feel. It will feel familiar to any Battlefield fan, but at the same time have this new grand design and familiarity with Battlefront fans as well. And ultimately, with its game modes, despite their flaws, are ultimately interesting concepts. The ability to defend satellites for bombers to target these giant tank walkers is a great concept, one that I wish many other games would try and use, as well as the fact that this game is Star Wars. Star Wars has proclaimed as a game that has been revolutionary to the entire movie industry. And that is why I want this game to succeed. Will it succeed? We can never say for sure. But do we need it to succeed? Can this game be the setting stone for the future to come? Yes, it can. And it will if we ultimately want it to be. And ultimately, that's why I say to you all, is Star Wars Battlefront a bad game? No. Is it a unfulfilled one? No. But is it the revolutionary game we've been waiting for? No. But can it be the setting stone for a bright future to come? Yes. And it will be if we help this game. Rather than giving EA and DICE hate for the mistakes they made, let's criticize them positively. Let us explain to them what we don't like about the game. Let's explain to them what content we want. And not just stuff on the past Battlefronts or past Battlefields, but what do we want new? What do we want that's revolutionary? And that's where we as a community, need to stand. That is where our place is. Not on the seat reviewing these games. We have IGN and GameSpot for that. And Angry Joe. No, we must stand as the community. The community that will stand by the franchise and lead it to the lightest path. And that's where we must do. That is what we must do to secure this game's future. I'm not asking you to pre-order it. I'm not asking you to even buy on release date. I'm asking you, give the game a chance and look at it positively. And any negative grapes, rather than ranting on them, make them your criticisms so they can fix them. I'll see you guys next time. This is Dumbo Orange 927, and may the force be with you. Always.